We are here. Ah, welcome, everyone. Welcome. Today's morning inspiration, let's do it. You see, we go through life sometimes and we feel. I know Neville Goddard says feeling is the secret, but he's not talking about, I don't feel like it today. He's not talking about that kind of feeling. He's talking about, oh, what would it be like if you had what you want? He's asking you what that sensation is in your body. That's what he's asking you. This is the word of feeling that he's speaking of. He's not talking about whether you're in the mood to do it. You see, life happens, right? Oh, all of our own creation, whether collectively or individually, but life happens nonetheless. When you look at a situation and you say to yourself, this is not what I wanted, that's your cue to say, oh, that's not what I want, but this is. And what do you do? Do you remember the two ways? Really, there's only one, but there's two. The two ways to impress the subconscious mind. One is the slow and steady way, and the other is fast. Mm? Repetition is the slow and steady way, and repetition with emotion is the fast way. See, we always have options. It's not that we're not getting what we want. That's no. We get who we are. You see, we continually recreate ourselves. Mhm. We are continually recreating ourselves. If yourself is one that sits in the corner and cries and waits for dun, 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 your savior, if that's you, well, you will continually create situations and experiences that cause you to sit in the corner waiting for your savior. Because that's what you're doing. I am constantly recreating myself. There's none but the self. So when you find yourself in a situation, you examine the self and you're like, wait, what? How did how did I get here again? I did something. What is that thing that I'm doing? You look at the experience you're having and you'll see the thing that you're doing. And then you change the thing. Change the action. Why? Because that action is associated with a thought. Well, why does it always come down to thought? Because the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. We can't get past that. It is law. So if you know that the all is mind and the universe is a mental creation, what's going on in your mental faculties? That's where we make the change. But you see, sometimes we want to make the change on the outside based upon what we can see. Some people call it the 3D. Some people say, oh, you should ignore the 3D. I'm like, you can't ignore what you just created. You just created it. So it's going to be there. So now you've got one option: continue to live it out or change. And what are you going to change? Your thought. Cause and effect. A particular thought persistently pursued, meaning you're doing it day in and day out, even when you don't know you're doing it. See, this is the thing. They're obvious. These persistent thoughts and behaviors are really blatantly obvious, yet they are hidden. Huh, the paradox. They are obvious because you are the one, I am the one doing the action over and over and over again. But they're hidden because you're doing it so much you don't see it anymore. This is why, remember, vigilance is key. Watch what you are doing. You're not watching to cast judgment. You're watching to decide, is this what I want? This is the only reason why you're watching yourself. Is that what I would like? No. Well, let me sit for a moment. You see, when we practice feeling the thought on Tuesday nights at 9:45 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, when we practice that, what are we practicing? We are practicing the ability, A, to know what we're thinking about, to have clarity, and then to feel it in your body because it has a visceral sensation. Visceral means you can feel it with your body. You know, if you watch a baby and you give that baby lemon and they pucker up, you can feel the tartness just by looking at them. Visceral. Or, you know, if somebody stubs their toe and you happen to be around them when they do the shriek, you're like, ooh, that had to hurt. You viscerally get that sensation in your body, in your toe. So when now you think of something, you see, we do it all the time. Usually the things that are most potent are the things we don't like or people we don't like. When we think of them, your body does, oh, that's what happens. So every time you think of that person, your body goes, oh, association. But if you say to your body, all right, look, I want to think about this instead, because this thing that I want to think about feels like this. So the thought, now you're training your body that when you have this thought, this is the sensation you want. Why? Because repetition and repetition with feeling is what programs the subconscious mind very quickly. And that's what we want. We're just a series of programs that we're running out. The key is to be aware of which program you're running and is it viable anymore or do you need to switch it out for something else? And we switch it out by what? Repetition and repetition with feeling. This is how we change our programming. We do not have to remain in the same situation that we've been in for a while. We don't have to do that. We can change. Oh, but Angela, a leopard can't change its spots. True, because it's a leopard. It's a leopard. And its distinctive look is its spots. This is how you know what you're looking at, just like the cheetah. Cheetah has spots too, but she has the lines under her eyes. When you look at her, you know who you're looking at because of their markings. We are not leopards. We are humans. And we can be reconditioned. So next time you want to change something, don't you be looking in the mirror saying, well, you know, a leopard can't change its spots. You're not a leopard. You're a human. You and I can change. We must, however, be clear. I want you, the next time you want to create an experience in your life, right? You know how people say, well, I've been trying and I really don't know. Remember, you are the creator of your experiences. And if you do not have a clear image of what you want to create, how can you recreate it? Because step one always is, what do I want? Well, then you have to answer that question. I want to create. Well, you've got to name it. And normally when you name it, an image pops into your mind. Right? If I say riot, if I say chaos, what happens? You see a mob of people running down the street. But if I say, oh, we're going on a yoga retreat, what do you hear? Sweet music. Everybody's sitting in the Buddha style, the lotus position. Somebody's having green juice somewhere. And the body begins to feel calm and relaxed. See? Association. So be clear. Be clear about what you are creating. Enough of this. I don't know. I just can't make up my mind. You see, when you go somewhere, or if you grew up like maybe you had a seamstress, yeah? Because somebody had to make those school uniforms. So the seamstress had a pattern. My school had a particular, it either had box pleats, right? And, or you didn't have pleats, or you had gabardine, a kind of material, or you had a checker for the blouse. What? Each school had its own pattern. So when you said to the seamstress, my child is going to this school, well, she knew what to do because the school was associated with a particular pattern of uniform. So you see, clarity must be everywhere. You've got to be able to tell your gardener what you want the shrubs to look like. It is important to have clarity. It's not just, you can live with it or live without it. It is the most critical thing. Why? Because the universe is a mental creation, and it works by pictures. However you generate that picture is up to you. Some people generate that picture because they hear something, they smell, they taste, they touch something, or they see something. They go, oh, wow, I like the look of that. And the image is formed in your mind. So now you consciously hold that image, bring up the sensation. And then what are we using? The law of gender. We are projecting from the conscious into the subconscious mind. And how does the mind work and remember things? By way of repetition, or repetition with strong feeling. So that's why it's important to know what you are doing so that you know what to practice. If you think about this, if you live your life by way of law and you say, oh, I'm going to create this today. If you do that, what are you doing? Are you not consciously living in alignment with law? Because if you are thinking something persistently that is not really of a help to you, you are also living by way of law. You are. Everything works according to law. But we must be conscious. Conscious? Yes. You're conscious now. You can hear me. You're aware. You are aware because you chose to be here in this space this morning. So you're conscious. So use your consciousness. Use your consciousness well. Do not allow other things and people and situations to project something into you and think that it doesn't have an effect. Because it was projected, it has to create an effect. Causation. And one of the best ways, because people always ask, well, how do you protect yourself? You protect yourself by being the one to always create your experience instead of allowing life to toss you to and fro and you are just reactionary. This is the simplest way. You don't have to do a ritual. Oh, let me do a moon dance. Really? You're going to allow the moon? You see, the moon, yes, does have an influence on our bodies because we're mostly water. But that's where it should stop. It should not, they tell you the full moon. Crime goes up on the full moon. People act a fool on the full moon. We still have to decide to act a fool. The buck always stops with us. The one I think is the funniest is Mercury retrograde. Listen, I'm not telling you that that doesn't happen. It does. These planets have an influence on our bodies. However, the ultimate influence is your mind. You dictate your behavior. You do. I do. Can you imagine If you were walking around and just because the moon is the way it is, it pulls you to the left and kicks you in the butt. Mercury's like, oh, I got it out for you today. Let me just roll you this way. What kind of an existence would that be? Highly unpredictable and not fun at all. As I said, it's not that they don't have an influence, they do, but the buck stops with us. We have the capability of rising above. Let's take a moment to welcome everyone into the space. I just saw your comment, Cyber, so I want to get to that one. Twitter, I see you. Matthias, Meep, T, hello, Jeff, Benji, darling. I see you all here in the Twitter sphere. It is so good to see you on such a lovely morning. Oh, yes. And it's got blue skies already. Lord have mercy. Fanbase. Zola, darling. My Melanin, Oracle Treehouse, KZ, Miss McQueen, Medcom, and Rochelle. Welcome to the space. It is so good to see you all. Thank you for the love also, fanbase. Let's see who's here in the YouTube world. We've got Cyber, we got Ms. M, Empress Ella, Bree, hello Mercedes, A Not, Marjorie, hello, Nancy, and for the others who have not made themselves known in the chat, I see you also. Now, yes, thank you for the beautiful reminder to everyone, Ms. M, to hit the like button, leave a comment, etc. Thank you. Cyber says, remember that lecture that Neville Goddard has? Buy the pearl of great price. You see, some of us, we want to hold the pearl, but we don't want to go all in. We don't want to go all in. You see, what does it mean exactly to buy the pearl of great price? It'll cost you everything that you used to believe. It'll cost you everything. It will cost you everything. Not in a bad way, mind you. Because think about it. Compare the two. Esther Hicks likes to say, compare and contrast. Compare these two things. Before the pearl, you were at the mercy of the world. You were at the mercy of what your mommy said, your daddy said, or you abandoned, blah, blah, blah. You were at their mercy. But when you buy the pearl, you are at nobody's mercy. You get to create your experiences. Which of those things would you rather have? Oh, I would like the pearl. Have you seen pearls? Pearls are lovely things, aren't they? You see, that pearl signifies you being in control of what? Your own mental faculties, so that you can do what? Create your own experiences. That's what that pearl signifies. Versus, well, I came out of that kind of life, so I guess I'm stuck with just being like my mom or my dad, or I'm just like them. I'm just like the rest of my family. I'll never be anybody. Really? You want to live like that? Listen, even if you choose to live like that, it's still according to law. So if you want to choose to live like that, then you can't complain. Well, why not? Because it is according to law. Why? Causation. Because you choose to live the way they always live, because it's the only way you know. Well, then you have to reap the repercussions of that. It's a simple fact. But you see, I just saw Ms. M say something about an old dog. We're not old dogs either. Because they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. As I told you before, that dog will do whatever you want it to do because it wants to treat. So can the dog be trained? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So you see, sometimes we say to ourselves, but I don't know how to get past this thing that I experienced. I don't know how to let go of this thing. Well, my dear darling, what is the first law? The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. So if you want to change something in your mind and you don't know how to do it, if you go to the library, any psychology book. What is psychology? The study of the mind. So if you study the mind and you understand how it is programmed, then can you not change your mind? Can you not let go of things? Ah. But you see, sometimes guilt is like a well-worn comforter. And you're like, ooh, you snuggle up to it because it is familiar. But if you go to the library and you read books about the mind, I'll give you another example. Billy Carson, because we know you love him. How did he learn to build a computer? I'll wait. He went to the library because he wanted to understand how to do something and to do it well. So he went and he got a book and he learned how to do it. There's not an excuse to remain the same. Not if you want to change. If you want to change and you want to grow and you want to learn, there's always a book. Oh, what's the thing we say? Oh, there's an app for that. Well, there's a book for that. Begin to learn what it is that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with habits that you want to break, you don't say, oh my God, I'm stuck. No, see what you can understand about habits. Well, a habit is any thought, word, or action that you do consistently. So if that is a habit, well, then it stands to reason if you want to make a new habit, then choose a new thought or word or action and do that consistently. As I say, the law sets you free. All day, every day, because that is your natural state. You are supposed to be free. Well, how do you know you're supposed to be free? Use the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence tells you as above, so below. Now, is the all captured by anything? No, the all is free. The all is sovereign. So if the all is free and sovereign, then so are you. Because the all created freedom itself, because it is free. It can only recreate freedom because it is free. So you see, it doesn't matter what the situation is. The situation is irrelevant. What, however, is relevant is, do you want to change? What do you want to change to? Be clear about it so that you can recreate the change you're looking for. This is the beauty of what we have. It is no laughing matter, yet you can't help but smile about it. It's serious, yet it's fun at the same time. Serious in the fact that the laws hold everything together. Fun in that, ooh, I get to create something. Ooh, nice. This is why Esther Hicks can say things like, be easy about it, have fun with it. Because creation is a fun experience. Right? We have what it takes. The law brings you courage. You know, there's another saying, if you lay down with a dog, you get fleas. There's that saying too, isn't it? Well, you start living the law, well, you get confidence, you get boldness. Oh, you get clarity. You get ideas you can't even keep up with. All because you're what? Rolling around in the law. Like the perfume in the alabaster bottle. That's what the law is. And that's why I say to you, let's just do it. Why be afraid? Yeah, but what if I get it wrong? The only way you can get it wrong is if you don't have a clear image. You know why? Because you have nothing to copy. This is why clarity. If you are clear, be clear about what it is. Be clear. But for so long, we've been taught. For so long, we've been taught. Oh, well, that's just the way life is. Really? But we do have this song in the Caribbean, life is what you make it, right? That's a song I remember from my Afro Puff days. Life is what you make it to be. Neville always said it does not matter whether you started behind the 8 ball or not. It doesn't matter. The question is, do you want to remain behind the 8 ball, or do you want to start making 8 balls? This is what it is. How do you do it? Step 1, what do you want? What do you want to create? Because the universe is a mental creation. Get clear about what it is. And then, what are you going to do? That image in your mind has a sensation. Now, if the image in your mind does not match the sensation, for instance, if you're walking down the street and you see a couple, like, oh my God, they're like so cute, you know? Well, then the sensation in your body is, well, you love relationships. But if you're walking down the street and you see a couple and you're like, ugh, really, that's the best you can do? That's a bit, she a gold digger. Well, then you can't possibly want a relationship, can you? Because when you see relationships, they don't make you feel good on the inside because they are associated with that sensation of ugh. So, if you want a relationship, make it your business. Make it your business, because now you have to tell your body what? You have to tell your body, I love relationships. When I see a relationship, this kind of sensation, this ooey gooey feeling, that's what I want to feel in my body. That's what you do. You're programming it. What do you mean you're programming it, Angela? Yes. The image in your mind of the relationship, right, has to match the sensation in your body. And so now, if you're walking about the day and you say, well, how many beautiful relationships can I see? And every time you see them, oh, the sensation is generated. What are you doing? The law of gender. You are doing what? You are projecting from your conscious mind into your subconscious mind. Relationship, ooey gooey. Relationship, ooey gooey. And how does the mind learn? Repetition with feelings or strong sensations. That's what you're doing. What if it's more money in the bank? Well, then, when you start to think of money, what does the body feel like? Does it feel like, oh, I got bills and no money? Does it feel like that? Do the shoulders go up? Is the heart racing? Are the palms sweaty? Okay, that is the association of money and your body. You want to change that. What do you want to feel like when you think of money? I just saw a woman in the field, with a scarf blowing behind her. She's holding it, and she's just in this meadow. She's carefree. Because let me tell you something. If you're carefree, you're not worried about bills. You're not, because you're carefree, free of cares. So what represents carefree to you? Right, begin to have that association of money and carefree. Another way of doing it, the image. What image in your mind do you like when you think of money? Do you see you opening up your app? Are you driving through the thingy at the ATM? All those things. If you see an ATM and you cringe, oh, you see, pay attention to what your body is saying. It's telling you what's in your subconscious mind. And when you sense what's in your subconscious mind, you now have the power to do what? Reprogram it. You pop that one out, you say, ooh, this one no longer serves me. Been broke too long, so let's start to create some money. That is what we do in practical terms. Practical terms. The law always involves action. It's the effect. That's why you get the thought, the word, and then the action. Cause and effect. You've always got to do something. I know Neville says you don't have to lift a finger to make it happen. No, you don't have to lift a finger to make it happen to generate that thought and the sensation in your body. However, to get across the bridge of incidents, you either have to walk across that bridge, run across that bridge, float across that bridge, or you could swim under the bridge, depending. But either way, you have to do something. Somebody else has to do something because we all play our role in each other's lives. Well, because we're all interconnected. So, I trust this makes sense to you today. I'm just reading. Um, Ties, tidbits, I see you. Oh, Miss M. Miss M says, wow, that was funny. I literally just laughed. And then she said, it's no laughing matter. You know, it is such a beautiful thing. You don't have to pretend to be happy. You don't have to fake anything. It is the simple knowing. It is the simple knowing of the law that will bring joy. You just have that pep in your step. Why? Because you know you are unlimited. You can create, whether in this realm or the next. You can create. So why? Why would you be sad? Why would you feel, I'm stuck? And as Neville says, well, the only reason why you don't have what you want is because you refuse to accept it. Cyber can give me the verbatim. You see what I'm saying? Only because we refuse to accept it. As I've said before, the law is nothing for you to believe in. It isn't. It's meant for you to know. How do you know? It's all around you. It's springtime. Blossoms are coming in. Oh, yes, they are. Blossoms. What does that tell you? If you're having blossoms now, you're going to have fruit later. This is law. We're going to have bees too. Because somebody's got to sip that nectar and pollinate all the other things. So the law is everywhere. You have the ability to think. Sometimes we think things and we're like, ooh, or, ooh, this is nice. You're thinking, you're using the law right there. So you see, it's nothing for you to believe. If I say to you, girl, I just got these brand new pair of shoes for $30, regular price, $600. You have to believe me because you weren't there. You don't know because you didn't experience it. That is the difference between belief and knowing. Belief means somebody's coming to tell you something. Knowing means I've been there, done that, and I own the sweatshirt for it. You know what you know. So that is what I will leave you with on this lovely morning. Because that book's not going to record itself. You know, it's just the way it is. And it was funny because the other day I was asking myself, how do I get better at narrations? And who should show up in my feed? Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman. And he gave this little tiny tidbit, and I was like, you don't say. And so I've been using it ever since. But, you know, when you speak to yourself and you ask these questions, and you say, you know, I want to learn this. I want to do this. Well, follow it. Because You'll be like Hansel and Gretel. You, bridge of incidents, you'll have these things that lead you in a particular direction toward the fulfillment of the thing that you say you want. So the encouragement for us today is that we have it. I get that line from, what was it? When he says, humans, they never stop to think, to look within themselves. Why is that? I'm sure it was by design. But the minute you look within yourself and you begin to know yourself, you will know exactly what you are recreating into the world. There's none to know but the self. There's none to change but the self. Always the self. Always the self. Yeah, but Angela, that sounds all nice and good, but you didn't live my life. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm dealing with. At every turn, there's a heifer trying to get me. So what do you want instead? You want peace in your life? Well, then let's do what Neville says. Stop arguing in your mind. Let me tell you something. I know all about arguing in the mind. Oh, believe you me. I know a thing or two about arguing in the mind. Oh, yes. Well, that habit was just so entrenched. But the good news is, I didn't have to stay there. And neither do you. You want peace? Begin to cultivate peace within yourself. Show your body what peace feels like. Or you can ask it to show you. Because either you've experienced peace at one point in time, or you've experienced peace through the eyes of someone else. You ever seen a baby? These little squirrels, they lay there and they shut their eyes and they are fast asleep. They don't care about a thing. They are at peace with the world. Yes, such deep breathing they've got. And then they smile in their sleep. And they're the sweetest things you've ever seen. Well, if you want peace, you show your body the image of that sleeping baby. That's what peace feels like. And the more you show yourself what that is, sooner rather than later, peace is what you will experience out and about. For real. But hey, don't take my word for it. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to experience it for yourself. Experience it for yourself. Some things are meant to be experienced, If you can look at somebody's life and go, ooh, oh no, I don't want that. You don't have to experience hardship to know what it is. You don't. You can see clearly what it is. You can clearly see what suffering is. That's why I say you don't have to suffer to understand it. You can see it clearly. And Neville says, well, don't wish for anybody what you wouldn't want for yourself. So if you don't want suffering, when you see suffering, do your Care Bear stare. What do you mean? Well, project peace outward. This is why Neville says don't sympathize. Because to sympathize means, oh, I feel so bad for you. No. Project outward that peace. Listen, the same way when you walk by someone and whatever they're emitting is so soothing to you. You just get around some people and you're like, oh, that's nice. I'm going to stay here. I'll tarry here for a bit. And it feels good. That's what they're projecting outward. You can do the same thing. I can do the same thing. You don't have to scoff and cross the road. Oh, that one poked a little this morning. You don't have to scoff and cross to the other side of the street. But as you walk past it quickly, you can project outward, you know what? Peace be unto you. Safety be unto you. We can do that for each other. But then again, practice, right? Because sometimes we're so quick to say, oh my God, ew. Sometimes we're quick to say that. Again, this one hit home a little bit. So, let me check the comments real quick. Oh, Bree, why thank you. K-Frame, I see you. Good morning, Beauty Queen Onika. I see you too. Nick Skywalker, ask the question, darling. Drop it in the chat. Beauty Queen, aw, Onika, I love you very much as well. And I appreciate you also. You see, being part of a community, this is why church is so popular. Because we want to be part of a community that edifies us. That's what we want. And here we have one. We created this. We created it because we wanted it. You created it here, you can create it anywhere. Nick Skywalker, if you're still there, drop your question in the chat. But that's the beauty that I want to remind us that we have within us. This is why Neville can tell you things like, well, all things are possible. We had that song in church. We used to sing, all things are possible. From Hillsong, all things are possible. Why is that? Because as long as you have a clear image, you can create it. That's what makes things possible. Well, you know where you can find us for the last remnants of gravy in the bowl on YouTube, right? Countdown initiated. Jeff, darling, Meep, I see you. Matthias, I see you too. Thank you for being here in the Twitter sphere. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 love, one heart. You know Bob Marley. I love you, Twitter. I'll see you soon. Like I said, pop over to YouTube. Fan base, I see you too. Thank you again for being here on such a lovely morning, lovely day, lovely day. It is so good to always be here with you. Jamea, honey, I trust that you slept well last night.
I slept amazing. You hear me? I want to go back to sleep so bad.
There it is. Now you got things to create today. Rest
I
will
do.
come.
I've already started. So yeah, on top of the good sleep, I mean, I'm already ready to do what I need to do for the day. So yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. There it is. I'll see y'all's over. Where on YouTube for the last remnants of gravy in the bowl. Much love. Fan base, my Melanin Joy, Jamea, Miss McQueen, Oracle Treehouse, Yolanda, Zola. I'll see you soon. Fan base is closed. YouTube, just you and I. Yeah? It's just us. Nick Skywalker said he had something to ask. So I'll wait, but in the meantime, let's make sure I didn't miss anybody that was here today. There's 15 of you in this space. You know, oh, Cyber, beautiful question. What are your thoughts on method acting or identity shifting to walk in the state of the wish fulfilled? Creating an alter ego like Beyonce's Sasha Fierce. To each his own. Beyonce is a performer. Neville Goddard was a dancer. So those modes that they used is what created the image in their minds that they could recreate. Do you see that? Hey, hey! Hey, Zola. Cyber, does that make sense? Because if you think about it, Beyonce gets on stage and she wants to give her best performance, right? So, what will she do? She sees what she wants to behave like on stage. She just named it because now what she has done, Sasha Fierce is associated with the stage. Beyonce is associated with mommy and being at home and wife, right? So every time she gets on the stage, what is the stage associated with? Sasha Fierce. So she must behave in accordance with that because she programmed herself to do it. We are only ever programming ourselves. So that's why Sasha Fierce exists, because it is associated with the stage and performing. You don't want to be performing when you're at home and you got spit up all over your clothes. You need to be in mommy mode, right? So the alter ego, that's what it is. The alter ego is there to represent something, it is associated with something. It is a program. It's a program or a trance state, whatever you want to call it. But either way, call it what it is. It is mental gender. She projected the image of what she wanted to be on stage from her conscious to her subconscious mind. And she named it so that every time she heard Sasha Fierce, well, it would emerge. And she would behave in the way of Sasha Fierce. There's another word for that, self hypnosis. But what is it all? The mind. That's what it is. It is the mind. Beautiful question, Cyber. I trust that answered it for you. Hey, Oracle Treehouse. I know it was a great question, wasn't it? So whatever that thing is that you do, as I said, Neville danced. So this is why he was really good at visualizing, because he had to see the moves in his mind from his instructor, yes? So this is why he could call up that thing he would do to move the way he did as the dancer. So it all depends on what it is you are creating that association to be like. Hi, Double A, I see you. For me, I hear. So because I hear, I tend to have conversation. I can tell you a story in like, who knows? Because I hear. And so I know when I get in the mirror and I look at my eyes, I know I'm listening. And so that's where the information happens, because that's how I've associated it. That's what I've trained myself to do. So what is it that you do? What is it that you do? That's how you'll know what you've associated your stuff with. I trust that makes sense, Cyber. But yes, this is the beauty of what we have. It really is. And I just want to encourage you to be bold. I'm not just talking to you, I'm also speaking to me. I've gone through the same programming as everybody else. Right? I've gone through the same programming as everybody else. And so I too have got to learn how to do it another way. Right? So for me, I have to use what I've learned back in the day. You see, the things that we've experienced in our lives, they tell you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Those things, if I said to myself, I don't go to church anymore, I don't need the Bible, blah, 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 I'd shortchange myself. Because it is, people ask me, well, how come your memory is so good? Because I had to remember. Remember, I couldn't read when I started leading worship, but I had to know the words. It was no excuse for my grandmother that I did not know the words because she sang them enough for me to know. This is why she always said pronunciation and enunciation were key. She said, if the congregation don't understand what you're saying, you can't teach them anything. That's why I had to learn what I did, how to speak clearly, how to convey a story, how to convey a message, how to convey instructions that can be easily followed. So because I am no longer in church, and some people associate church with trauma, I challenge you. Look for the good that came from it. Look for the good that came from your experiences. If your intuition is off the hook, right? Be grateful for that. You know why? You can now be in a position to use it for your benefit versus, oh, I went through so much. Yeah, we know you went through so much. But look at what came from it and use them. We have many arrows in our quiver that we can use. We're not limited. Look back at your life if you're going to look back instead of complaining about it or, oh no, that happened to me. No, what did you learn that you can use from back there? And you implement it now. So Cyber, oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're welcome. It's such a fun idea. You think you'll be looking into states as stepping into different characters from now on. Multiple personality disorder, but in a good way. Cyber. I hear you. I hear you. Because yes, I understand it is a fun thing, you know. And like I say, you find who you are in the mix. Find who you are and use who you are. Right? It's like Isaac Hayes the third, the creator of Fanbase. When I listen to him speak, I've noticed something. He has the keen ability to see patterns. He just does. He sees patterns in such a way that he can capitalize. You think he just woke up one day and he could see a pattern? Mm-mm. That pattern came from whatever life he lived. Some of us see patterns. What do I mean by a pattern? You see, the law of rhythm is basically about patterns because you have the ebb and the flow. So whenever you have the ebb and the flow, you can count the distance between the ebb and the flow. You can see when the ebb is going into flow. You can see when the flow is going back to ebb. That is a pattern. So whatever it was that he experienced in his life caused him to see patterns. But now, the fact that he can see patterns, he can also capitalize on a pattern. And it looks like, oh my God, how does he predict these things? How does he know? Because he can see patterns. But what if that skill that he developed back in the day, what if he was like, you know what? I didn't really have a great childhood, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not gonna use anything. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna learn something new. That's what I'm trying to get at here. We are individuals, and we've had individual experiences that have molded and shaped us. This is why Romans 8:28 exists. All things work together for good for those that love the law, right? What does that mean, all things? Whatever it was that molded and shaped you. I just want to say, take the good, you take the bad, the facts of life, right? Because you have to, you assess your life and you take the good from it. And that is what you use to propel yourself forward. That's why. Right? Are there any more questions before we, before we go? I'm just so appreciative of all of you being here because And your questions are so awesome. They truly are. They truly are awesome. I haven't seen Mozinga. I haven't seen Emanon in quite some time. I'm gonna have to slide into his DMs, see what he's about. um, yeah. So remember, ooh, I didn't make it, but I will make it. Let's see what time we're at the library. So tonight, because I don't want to keep it too late. What time? Let's do 3:30 p.m. today, because remember I told you we're gonna do we're gonna address Cyber's question. Um, why do things happen? Like when you know the law, yeah, but how did you end up there? We're gonna talk about that, right? We're gonna talk about that because I remember Ruby was excited for Wednesday as well. So 1:30, I'll make it and put it up so that you guys can click on the notify me, so that we catch it, which is 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that's well, Cyber. Like I said, I had time. I had time to learn, and it's just Mercedes. What a beautiful question. How do you keep your mind from being all over the place? The design of the mind is to think, but you are the one in control, right? So you assign a task to your mind. That is how you keep your mind from being all over the place. They call it monkey mind, you know? The minute you decide you want to sit still, your mind is like, ooh, that's your mind, right? So the way, because you can't stop it, because the law of vibration tells you nothing stands still, everything moves, right? So your mind is always going to be thinking and moving. You, on the other hand, you give it the task. You say, okay, we're going to focus here. We're going to inhale and exhale. That is your only way to think. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. That's what you tell your brain. Or you tell your brain, we're going to listen for a heartbeat. We're going to hear it in our ears. And so your brain will focus in on your heartbeat. You have to give it something to do so that it does not run amok. That's how you keep your mind from being all over the place, by assigning it a task. You see, Mercedes, sometimes we get caught up in the word multitasking. Multitasking is of the devil because you can only do one thing at a time. Ponder that for a moment. We can only do one thing at a time. It's not that I burn the food all the time, right? It's that sometimes you're in a hurry, so you turn up the burner, right? Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas if you take your time and do that one thing and do it well, hey, that's what you do. I trust that makes sense, Mercedes. Let me know. Bree, can you speak on how assigning meaning to experiences as a way to claim your manifestation? Things moving around to make space for what you're creating. Let me see if I understand your question, Bree. Can you speak on how assigning meaning to experiences? This sounds like law of gender to me. Um, when you just let me see if I can understand. I want to understand your question so I can better explain. You're dealing with association. So if you say, I want a new car, right? If you say you want a new car, what happens in your body when you say that? Man, I don't have any money for that. I can't afford a new car note. My job doesn't pay me enough. Is that is that beginning part kind of what you mean? So I can elaborate more, Bree? Because if you say I'm creating this, but the sensation in your body says, girl, because last time we tried to create something, it didn't really work. So I don't know. So when you claim your manifestation by assigning meaning to the things happening in your environment, this also sounds to me like we're looking for signs or birds before land. Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? Because the only thing that truly is being assigned is the image, right? The image of what it is you're creating and the sensation in your body. Do those two things match? That truly is the only thing that should be assigned. The image in your mind and the sensation in your body, those two things must match so that when you repetitively bring up the image and have the sensation over and over again, right? That's what you're doing. You don't necessarily assign it to something outside of you. There's nothing outside of you yet. You are creating it right now. So when you say, okay, this equals this image equals this sensation in my body. Let me know, Bree. Sometimes I get lost in things when I don't understand the question. Hello, David. I see you. Because association has to do with how you've programmed your mind to see things. But that's it. What if they don't match? Great question, Oracle Treehouse. What if they don't match? Then you now have to show your body what that image should feel like. That's where the repetition comes in. Remember, to program the mind, you need repetition and repetition with feeling or sensation in the body. That's how you're programming the subconscious mind. So if you say money, but your body's like, your body's like, money doesn't grow on trees, you know, or as my father says, what do I look like? Onassis? You know, he was a shipping tycoon, right? If that association with money and that sensation in the body, they don't match. So, what do you want money to feel like to you? Money should feel like, oh, wow, I did this. Whew, my bills are paid on time, girl. I don't have to fret. Oh, that's nice. Look at that money. It's raining. Or as Cardi B would say, that cash money, right? So if you want to associate money with Cardi B and how she says cash money because it makes you laugh, huh? And it frees you up because there's no tension now. Now you can begin to say, okay, so money is like this. Make it rain. The cash money, baby. Cardi B. Poor imitation. I'm sorry. I'm not Cardi B. But that's when I think of it, I think of her and how she says it, right? Okay. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Right? So if money now, when you think of money and you think of Cardi B and she's making it rain, then you're free now. So money now equals freedom for you. And it comes easy and it comes in a fun way because Cardi B is associated with fun, right? So now that's the sensation every time you think of money. That's the sensation you tell your body this. And you have to do it over repetition with feeling. Does that make sense, Circle Treehouse? Bree, yes, that's what I mean. When you harmonize how it feels with what's happening. As a creator, I tend to assign meaning to my experiences to validate my manifestation. You assign meaning because you want to validate your manifestation. That reminds me now of what Neville says um, when you bring up the scene. Like you just conjure up this scene that confirms you have it. So you're creating this experience. So if you say, "Oh my God, really? Wow!" So if that's the scene you're playing over and over in your head, Sooner or later, you're going to have to experience that. Is that what you mean? Like things changing to make room for your manifestation, everything working to your benefit. Bree probably wants to shake me right now. She's like, I get it. How come you don't get it, Angela? Because Bree is this brilliant visual creator. She's just so she really is visual. If you ever see her on TikTok, all these and she sews. I'm like, what man? What kind of skill is this? You know, this is how she shows up in the world. She's very good at whatever it is she's creating, whatever it is she creates. So, Bree, it would make sense for you to create an experience in your mind because that's what you do. That's what you do naturally. Like you did uh the reflective wallpaper on your countertops. You saw that in your mind before you even did it. So yes, it would make sense for you to see that finished thing and then you're like, "Ooh, I'm going to get this paper" because you saw it, you're like, "That fits what I just saw in my mind." That's why you do what you do the way you do it. That's why you assign an experience to something because you're also so tactile. Touch is really important to you. I'm just going based off of what I see on your um it's not that it's hard. It's just that sometimes we uh it makes sense to us. You understand? Sometimes it makes sense to us. You're very visual. So sometimes it's hard to get visual into words. I am very audible. So that's why words are easier for me as opposed to pictures, right? So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying for sure. Oracle Treehouse, I almost missed that. But that you have to change it, which is probably going to take time because it took time to program that mix match feeling. Um, and you see, everything works according to law. It's not a mix match feeling. It's how you feel. It's how you feel about the thing. It's how you feel about the thing. All you're doing now is recognizing that that's not how you want to feel about the thing. And that's what takes the change. And that's why repetition on its own will take the time. It's a surefire way to make change, repetition. But repetition with feeling. Feeling is nitrous oxide for all you car enthusiasts. Feeling or sensation is the nitrous oxide. It's the boost, it's the adrenaline. Yeah? And that's what makes it happen faster when you now combine repetition with the sensation. Bree, sometimes I don't see the finished product or the manifestation. I'm just in the mode of creating. So to work on actively manifesting from the beginning, I assign meaning to things as they happen. I see you. You build puzzles. Each piece has its own place. Each piece has its own place. Now, here's a question for you. Are you sure that you don't see a finished product? I'm asking you that based upon what I've seen from you. Because, Bree, when I watch you on TikTok, and I remember which blouse was it? Oh, she redid this blouse, and I was like, man, that is banging. Like, who who does that? Because I just don't have that skill. Please, I can darn socks, okay? That's about as far as my skill goes. But she comes out and she's cutting things out in a pattern, and she's sewing and she's pinning, and I'm like, what? Right? In order for you to do what you do, you have to see a finished product because that finished product, you would not know put lace here or not. I'm telling you, you see it in its completion based upon the evidence of what I've seen you do on TikTok. You see it in its completion. So the other question now, Bree, is do you find that your manifestation takes longer if you assign uh, meaning to things as they happen? Because remember, Neville Goddard says to live in the end, see the end result. There's a reason for that. When you see the end result, the picture comes together clearly. Is that, yeah, that's it, exactly, Oracle Tree, how she is in the flow. Ah, but read it again, Bree. I'm gonna read it to you. You say, thanks for your kind words, but truly, I feel like I see what could work, not what it will look like. Say it till you hear what you just said. You see, but here's the thing, Bree. Perhaps take a moment. I'm gonna read it to you again. You feel like you see what could work. In order to see what could work, things have to be in their proper place for you to see what could work. So that you can say, oh, I like that lace. Nikola Tesla did the same thing. Nikola Tesla, when he built whatever he was building in his mind, he would swap out parts when he tested it in his mind. So if he was running the machinery and something malfunctioned in his mind, he'd pop that out and say, oh, this would work better there. But remember, he was always seeing the finished product. But I feel you, Bree. I feel you. I feel you. And Nikola Tesla did go with the flow. So when he tested it and something didn't work, he'd swap it out. You, I think, do the same thing. That's why you would say you see what could work. In order for you to see what could work, it has to be completed in your mind. Then why do my creations never end up with what I think it will be in the beginning? Oh, this is a good question. Why do my creations never end up with what I think it will be in the beginning? Let me go back to your TikTok. So, if in the beginning you wanted to make that blouse, you knew you wanted to make a blouse because you didn't end up making pants, because that'd be different. You knew you wanted to make a blouse. It's just you modified the blouse. Of course, I could be way out in the bushes, as my bestie would say. But then I will give you this suggestion. Is there clarity at the beginning? I know you go with the flow. Nothing is wrong with going with the flow. But you also have to go with the ebb too, right? Because there's an ebb and a flow, not just a flow, there's an ebb. So the question is there clarity at the beginning? I'll wait for you to respond. And the better man has a question as well. If I go through the manifestation of $1,000,000, do I do it only once or every day? Neville Goddard says the Sabbath. And I'll give you the example of the Sabbath. You know, if you're learning a song, yeah? How long does it take you to memorize the words? Meaning you don't stumble over any of the words, you just know them, you could sing it off by heart. That is when something is in your subconscious mind. When you can just sing it back without any assistance. So to do the $1,000,000, ooh, this is a good one. To do the $1,000,000, what would that be like if you had a million? If I had $1,000,000, if I had $1,000,000. Bare Naked Ladies, they're a Canadian band. If you had $1,000,000, what would it feel like to you? That's the question, the better man. If you had $1,000,000, what would that sensation be like in your body? What would it be? So now, $1,000,000 in your mind, does it match the sensation in your body? Step 1 and 2. Because now what you're going to do is bring up the thought, which is $1 million, and the sensation over and over and over again. The best times when you wake up and when you're falling asleep. Those are the most potent times. That's why they're the most effective times, because they're the most potent mentally, right? They're the most potent mentally for a sleep, like just going to sleep and just waking up. So that's when you would want to bring up the sensation of $1 million and the image of $1 million. Like you could look into you could see your bank account or your statement, whatever that is. Right. So generate that thought and that sensation in your body before falling asleep and just as you wake up, because they're the most potent times. But then as you go through the day, just for like 30 seconds, not even that long, you bring it up and you're like, yeah, right? That's what you do. And the reason why you do that, because it will start to, Neville says it takes on the tones of reality, which means anytime you think of $1 million, you don't think about $1 million. You say, I have $1 million. Those are two separate things, right? So you're taking yourself from I'm creating $1 million to I have $1 million. What does it feel like to have it? Perhaps there'd be a feeling of relief, a feeling of peace, a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of surprise, whatever. But you have it. Does that make sense, the better man? Bree, that's so true. I forget about the ebb. I feel like there's a clarity in feeling like I will make something, but that I will keep transmuting until I find a pattern that works. Yes. So Cyber says you have a general idea of the feeling the creation would give you. So you're seeing the end result in some form at least. You're holding that feeling and being led to make all of the right moves. Exactly. Exactly, Cyber. We always see the finished product because that is the way the mind works. We always see the finished product. Always. Well, we do. There's no way around it. We see the finished product. Like Cyrus, in some shape, fashion, or form, we see that end. We always see the end. I love you, Cyber. You're awesome. Right? See, that's why I love the community. It's awesome. It really is. So that's did I miss Nick's question or Nick Skywalker? Because I remember him, he just popped into my head again. He had a question. But well, if it was important, he would have asked it, I suppose. So I trust everything makes sense. We do always see the end. And how do you know you see the end? You know you're going to make something. You know you are. And like I said, you just have a general idea. Ah, so should I focus on seeing all of the finished product? I don't want to get too overwhelmed, but I'm becoming more comfortable and accountable with the weight of that. No, Bree. We examine ourselves, we don't judge ourselves. Lazy is a judgment. Um, Clarity is a good thing to practice. So if you say, like I can just go back to your TikTok. So if you say, I remember, was it the pants or the skirt that you made? You have this ability. You look at a piece of clothing and you're like Nikola Tesla. You've already cut it up in your mind. You've already cut it up because you're like, oh. But before you cut it up in your mind, you see what it is, and then you see what you want it to be. You've done two things there. You see it for what it is because you're holding it in your hand. You're like, you know what? If I open up this seam here and I put some lace there and do this and do that, that would be fly. You've just completed the product in your mind. That's what you've done, right? That's what you've done. So the only suggestion I would give here is just be more clear about what you want it to look like. That's it. But for you, honestly, the way you do it, because you are so tactile, you're looking at that skirt and you've already cut it up in your mind and you've attached lace, you've put this color here, you've put flowers and a zipper here. You've already done that in your mind. And then all you do, when you're done doing that in your mind, you're like, I see what I'm doing. And you go and you cut it up and you put it together to match the image in your mind. That's what you honest to goodness do. But you see, sometimes what happens to us, this is why I tell you, when you know who you are and how you do things, you won't allow other things and other techniques to make you waver. There's one thing for learning how to do something else. Yes, there is. But your strength, Bree, you see possibilities. That's what you do. You see possibilities. Like, seriously, guys, when I tell you I sit there and I marvel at what she does, I'm like, wow, when the how'd she get that from I Brie, I don't know how you get your finished product from the beginning. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what you see when you do it, but you do it so well. And I think the more that you do it, the better you will become at it. You're yet young. And so the more you do it, the better you'll become at it. It's not anything to do with being lazy. You are doing what your strength is. And over time, you'll develop the other things because they will lead you there. Does that make sense, Bree? I trust it does. You just have a beautiful way of seeing things. I was shook when I saw that reflective paper, and when the sun came in the window, I was like, "What?" What it is and what I want it to be. I love that. I'm trying to see how that relates to my manifestations. It must really be that easy. Yes, Brie, it is. Investing in the potential of something to see what it could be. Your manifestation. You see, if you say you want to develop a clothing line, if that's your manifestation, you are already developing a clothing line. Why? Because you are creating articles of clothing. And now all you got to do is pop a price tag on it because people love what you do. And then bam. And they're one of a piece vintage things. So they take top dollar. So if you say your manifestation is, again, to be self-sustaining and have a fashion line doing what you love by decorating and being creative, then you know the end. You know what you want to do. So if that means you are showing somebody how to put up different sconces on the wall, or this, oh, and you be like, oh, this texture would be great over here. This would catch the light right here. Like, oh, you see that. You, Bree, you see it. And so because you see it, it already is. You can't recreate from what's not there. That's why I'm saying to you, you see these things in such a beautiful way and in an intricate and creative way. Follow through with what you see. It doesn't matter what the manifestation is. You know what you want and you know how it feels. You are already doing it. You're already doing it. Dare I say, something got you all caught up in, well, this person manifests this way. Maybe I'm manifesting wrong. No, manifest according to who you are. You are the creator. So because you're the one doing the creating, it has to come out with the essence of you. But if you try and be like George, you can't be like George. George's manifestations have their own essence of George. I tend to speak things into existence because that's what I do. I speak, you know? So if you see vividly, then that's what you're going to be doing. And because you're so passionate about what you do, see, here's that key word passionate. You see the sensation. You are projecting from the conscious to the subconscious rather quickly because that passion is there for you. Anywho, I'm not going to preach at you anymore, Bree. I'm not going to preach at you anymore. I just want you to know that. Yes, I make the rules, but going with the flow, I don't always like rules. Ah. But the way my Saturn return is set up, Jesus, I like that. But you see, the way my Saturn return is set up, I might have to use something like that. Well, you know, the way my Scorpio moon is set up. Brie, I love it. It's totally awesome. And you see, the I know, rules are kind of sticky, but the law is not a rule that inhibits or prohibits. The law allows. The law allows you to be the best that you can be. It doesn't give you a fence, yeah? The law doesn't give you a fence and say, you can only do this. No. The law says, do it like this, and you'll blow through anything there is. See the difference between rules and the law? Rules restrict, the law sets free so that you can create at will. That's yeah, you guys are awesome, man. I just truly love spending time with you. I do. I do. So, I will let you go for now, and I will set up the thingy for 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today so that we can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about it. Cyber. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all there. And yeah, that's all I got to tell y'all today. Ah, Bree. Well, again, speaking is my forte, much to my grandmother's chagrin, of course. We have this saying in Barbados called the duck pick your water. Look, I still don't know what it means, but when she wanted you to hush, she's like, you duck pick your water? Huh? Gotta talk so much? Well, I see nothing has changed. Anyway, I just totally love you. Oh, oh shoot. Miss M just busted in and says, 21 people and there's 3 likes. She said, let's show some gratitude and help her out in the algorithm. You know what? Thank you, Ms. M. Thank you. You see, I'm going to say this. Every single moderator in this space has a gift. I'm beginning to notice Miss M's gift, marketing. She also has the ability to see patterns, and she uses them in a very practical way. She does, right? She sees things in a very practical way, which is very good because without the practicality of things and life, we don't necessarily progress. This is why action is always required with the law. You see, right? I love you, Ms. M. Thank you so very much for shining a spotlight on things and helping us to remember to show gratitude in all areas. Thank you for that. It is greatly and truly appreciated. And remember, we get to hear the ding of the bull when somebody does a super chat, right? David, you never heard that? Shoot. My grandmother used to say that to me all the time. Listen, my report card said the same thing. Angela talks too much, asks too many questions. And I was like, my grandmother was like, I sent you to school to learn not to talk. So, um, it's, and you know what though? I will say this to you. I did stop speaking and singing for a very long time because I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be offensive because I spoke too much. If you talk to my dad, he'll tell you the same thing. Ah, you talk too much. He'll tell me that all the time. And so that's why I stopped singing and speaking, because I wanted to be liked and to blend in with everybody else. But that came at a detriment to myself, because allegedly now I'm making up for all those years of silence. Right? Um, Nancy, you're welcome. And you know what? Yes, it is nice to hang out and feel the joy of life. Oh, ain't not? You're working. You're catching up from 2 weeks in Virginia. Look at you. Mm. And did you see A Not's manifestation? If you weren't here last time, my girl says in June she's flying back down paid in full. You see how things work? All things work according to law. She was clear about what she wanted. And then when your boss comes to you and say, "Do you want to drive or do you want to fly?" Wait, what? Yep. Come on. Everybody plays their part. Everybody plays their part. I love that manifestation of of Anots. I just saw Zola. Um, you're welcome, Oracle Treehouse. I love learning and listening too. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad. David, I know, right? We're kindred. We talk a lot. I don't know how we'd get a word in edgewise. But anyway, um, oh, Zola, you guys are having a conversation in here. Thank you, Miss M. Yeah. Cyber, did you read what Cyber said? Cyber said, let's enjoy the blessing of this era. Soon, tons of people will be here and we'll have to super chat so Angela can see our questions. Might have to ditch the bowl. You'd be dinging it the whole time. Cyber, I'll have the bowl playing in the background. Oh my word. I love you guys. I truly, truly do. And I trust that you take value and apply. Apply it. There's nothing worse, right? I used to hear this at church all the time. You come in and you get the word and you're gorged on the word, but you don't do nothing with it. What did Neville Goddard say? Be doers of the word, not just a hearer. Be doers of the word, because it is in the doing that you begin to see what you're capable of. And that is where I will leave you. Aw, David, I'm so glad to be here and that you can hear me, because I did miss you. Oh, oh, Zola, you guys crack me up. You guys are awesome. She's telling Cyber that she said the same thing in Fanbase. What are you gonna do when the room just blows up? Like, what are you gonna do? Well, the same thing I'm doing now, to the best of my ability. Yeah, a great creation thought. It truly is. Yes, I love you all, and I will see you later on this afternoon so we can talk about why we end up where we are and how we can be more diligent with things. Yes, I love you. Much love, everybody.